have been bribed and manipulated, and even worse. Let's just pay attention to the facts and use our reason to save our best friend Caelius.
Speaking of using reason, I would literally kill a man for Marcus Crassus. He did such a great job of concluding that joke of a case with the riots at Naples and the assault of the Alexandrian ambassadors. Oh man, and when he wrapped up that whole defacing Pella's property charge, classic.
But enough about all this baseless slander. Let's get into the meat and potatoes of this accusation. I noticed before that you judges were listening very attentively to Mr. Herennius over there. And I started to fear that your minds started to warm up to Herennius's claims. I apologize. I sincerely apologize for you having to listen so attentively to his deprecating nonsense, because I assure you, my speech will be far more interesting. I sincerely apologize. The first part of your argument was so bad that I don't even care about it. You guys claimed that Caelius hung out with Bestia, which is so obviously wrong, I'm not even going to explain. Then you guys claimed Caelius was part of the Luperci, those whippersnapping hooligans. But I will focus on more pressing matters. The scolding of extravagances had been more reasoning than atrocity. Mr. Clodius was talking about everything with harsh words, and even if I approved of his eloquence, nevertheless I wasn't afraid, because I've seen him lose cases before. But to you, Balbus, I'm responding first. But there are plenty of young men that go through this kind of phase, and they come out pretty okay, so let's ignore these insults. But you seem to want to throw shade at Caelius out of the communal disrepute of youth. Even though you accuse this one man of many vices, they could be applied to anyone. It is easy to criticize luxury. Take the defendant out of the matter and the case would sound just as good. My client, therefore, is a victim of unjust odium, not by his own charge, but by the vice of many. There are two charges, of gold and of poison. He allegedly took gold and looked for poison to give to Clodia. These are the only true accusations. Everything else is slander and more suitable to some playground argument. I see the cause of all this stuff. He wanted to kill her, so he got the poison. However, the problem for this case is with Clodia, someone who has serious issues with her character, and I'll say nothing about her except what is relevant to the case. She's literally the main issue here. I would call her out for being more all dishonorable, but I have some personal issues with her husband. I mean, brother. I'll be nice, especially since she's such a prize and not a at all. When I question her, I'll first ask how she wants me to proceed. If she'd rather I be more austere and traditional, I must rouse up out of the underworld one of those bearded guys, not with those pathetic little beards that women like, nice but try. That shaggy kind, and get him to speak instead, so that Clodia won't get mad at me. I'll raise her own family member, Appius Claudius Caecus, from his grave. He'll feel the least pain, because he's blind, and he won't have to look at her mustache. He'd say,
Woman, why are you goofing around with Caelius? What are you doing with this little boy kid man? How chummy have you gotten with him that you lent him gold? And what did he do to make him poison you? You're a disgrace to our family. You butthead.
Where our nation finds
Clodia,
hope.
why are you like this? I didn't make all this stuff for you to use for your coarse deeds. Clodia, why are you like this? I didn't make all.
But why would I bring in this mean bearded guy in the first place? He might turn around and start scolding Caelius too. I'll talk about this later. So first, I'll talk about this woman without the mask of an imaginary person. You've brought all these accusations of lusts and wild parties into court when you say yourself that there is no evidence to back it up.
But no, you want me to act more sophisticated. I get it.
I'll get rid of this dirty, rustic old man and replace him with something more pleasant.
His presence is pure incest. I mean incense, because he's calming. You know what I mean. The most reformed out of your family members, the most loving of you, Claudia, I'll summon none other than your little brother. You guys got a great relationship going on. Eating together, hanging out together, sleeping together. And I can assure you, if he was here, he'd probably be asking you why you're making such a big deal out of nothing. Why are you stirring up such a fuss? Why are you acting? Why are you acting? Why did you take out the trash like I asked you to? How come we never talk? What? You know, stuff like that. So this is how it played out. You noticed a neighboring hot young stud. His face struck you as attractive, for some reason. So you wanted to get to know him a little better. So you were in the same garden sometimes, doing some harmless eyeballing. Totally not creepy at all. All you wanted was to bind him to you with your resources and use him for his body once or twice. You don't even understand why you fought back. Get away from me, you creep. What was creepy about what you were doing? Making out with someone isn't creepy.
This is the most normal thing ever at his age.
Consent is implied. This is you we're talking about, after all. But then he's spitting in your face for some reason, and he doesn't think your gifts are up to his standards? What an ungrateful brat. Just get away from him, girl. Why do you need them to chase after this stupid idiot who doesn't realize how hot you are when you have literally a cajillion hot nude people waiting for you in your garden on this high burst? Get away from him, girl.
Let me be your dad for a moment, Caelius. As Caecilianus would say, all political power comes from the barrel of a gun. Or, he'd say, at the Imperial Conference on December 1st, it was decided to make war against England and the United States. Such a dad would say, why did you go into that prostitute neighborhood? Why didn't you get out of that relationship? Why were you involved with a married prostitute? But to this sad and serious old man, Caelius would respond that he wasn't led by lusts to stray off the path, but rather by his own accord. He had never borrowed any money, and you have no evidence for it. Nice try. All of you wonder why a neighbor of that horrible woman has gained such a bad reputation along with her brother. But to this, a kind and gentle father would say, families is where a nation finds hope, where wings take dream. How would the son have been able to defend himself? I speak now about a different woman, totally unlike you, who was a prostitute and was everybody's prostitute and kept several man friends. Don't you think someone would hit on her every once in a while? But to this sad and serious old man, Caelius would respond that he wasn't led by lusts to stray off the path, but rather by his own accord. He had never borrowed any money, and you have no evidence for it. All of you wonder why a neighbor of that horrible woman has gained such a bad reputation along with her brother. But to this, a kind and gentle father would say, families is where a nation finds hope, where wings take dream. How would the son have been able to defend himself? I speak now about a different woman, totally unlike you, who was and was everybody's friend and kept several man friends. Don't you think someone would hit on her every once in a while? Come on, guys. Whoever thinks it's wrong to let a young guy let loose once in a while by rotting his soul with sinful adultery is a real stick in the mud. I cannot deny it. After all, everyone's done this, now, back then, and even in the future. I'll go into this a little more, and I'm not going to name names, but you know who I'm talking about. Let's say that some unmarried woman has always opened up her house to everyone. slept around at dinner parties with other people's husbands, carried herself like some shameless prostitute, then if some young man has been sighted with her, would he be an adulterer or a lover? Would he have robbed this woman of her modesty or to have fulfilled her lust? I want to put the past behind us, Claudia. I'm willing to forget all those injuries you did to my family when I was gone. But if you say that you have always spoken the truth and that there should be a woman who is unlike you and is also a... Would it be bad that someone has a relationship with this... I'm obviously not calling you a... But if you were a... Why would it be bad that Caelius is such good friends with you? So now, at this point, it seems my speech has cleared all the shoals, and it's smooth sailing from here. We have 2 charges of gold and poison. Amazingly, the same woman is implicated in both. They say Caelius took gold from Claudia and gave it to the slaves of Mr. Lucaeus, intending to bribe them to murder Dio, who was staying at their house. Now that is a crime. Ambushing ambassadors, bribing slaves to murder their master's guest, the boldness, the wickedness.